Substitution. What does substitution mean if you were going to use it in a sentence? I need to make a substitution on the hockey team because one of my teammates has rolled her ankle, right? So you would put in another player to replace her. They can both play the same position. They're both pretty good. So we take, for instance, Sally out and we put in Hannah, right? You make a substitution. And same idea maybe with a recipe. You don't have strawberries to put into the recipe, so you might substitute it with raspberries instead, something that's close or equivalent, and you can replace one thing with the other. So in algebra, substitution is really talking about replacing the variable, or the letter, with a value or a number, once you actually know what it is. So remember for algebra that our variables, our letters, are really just numbers we don't know yet. But if we tell you what it is, if we tell you what that letter is equal to, you can replace it. So looking at this example, I'm going to ask you to evaluate the following expressions, these little statements here, when we know that a is equal to 3 and that b is equal to -2. So a is equal to 3. So if we look at that first expression, that's 2a. So would we write then, replacing the a with a 3, 2, 3. I'll tell you that's wrong. It's not 23. We need to think about what's going on inside of there. Don't forget, between a number and a letter, there's a little invisible time sign. So we need to think about that. That's actually saying not 2a completely, it's saying 2 times a. So 2 times a is going to become 2 times 3, which is equal to 6. In the next example, we know again that a is equal to 3. And in this case, b is -2. So we're going to replace those two things. A plus b will become 3 plus a -2. And now we have a negative number, but remember, if you've got two signs written right next to each other that are opposite, they're kind of unhappy, they're going to become a negative. So that 3 plus a -2 really becomes 3 minus 2, and that will be 1. So again, opposite signs next to each other will become a negative. One more example here, 4a minus 6b. And you'll notice I say that at first without the invisible time sign, but don't forget that it's in there. The little invisible time sign between the 4 and the a and the 6 and the b. So that really actually says 4 times a minus 6 times b. So if we write that out, 4 times a becomes 4 times 3, because we know that a is equal to 3, minus 6 times b, which is -2. And now we've got a couple of operations in here. We notice we have timeses and minuses, so I need you to think about order of operations and deal with the timesing first, and then we'll deal with the subtraction. So 4 times 3, those are both positive numbers. That's just going to give me 12. I still have that minus sign there. And now I've got 6 times -2. Okay, well that's positive 6 times -2. Those are opposite signs, so a positive times a negative will become a negative. And 6 times 2 is 12, so that's -12. And here's another example for us where we see two signs written next to each other. This time they're both the same, a negative minus a negative. So since they're the same, everybody's pretty happy about that, pretty positive about it. So they cancel and become a positive. So 12 plus 12 is going to be 24. So again, taking away a negative is really like just adding the positive on there. The negative and the negative will cancel to become positive. So a substitution, watch out for the invisible time signs, make sure you carry in any of the negatives that you have to deal with, and just literally replace the variable, the letter, with the value or the number that it's equal to.